Hello and welcome to the Super License F1 podcast. How are you going, Zach?
I'm going so well, and I'm just amped to get into the real meat of the show this week.
There's absolutely no time for any of that. We have to wrap this up in less than, 30 seconds, but we're back. We've been invited back to the annual Box and Digital Super License crossover Christmas episode. It's always nice to be invited back to our own crossover episode.
Oh, absolutely. And, I really just like satelliting in, and there'll be plenty of discussion about that pretty soon.
There will, but as always, it's time for our annual awards show. Without further ado, let's just take it away.
Nightline with Philip Brady and
Peter McGinley.
Oh, this was for me. I'm just now realizing what you're doing. You're like, I'm going to give you guys an intro.
Yes.
You're going to play 3AW.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, that's sound of Rodney from Super License Podcast. He's here to talk about local councils and the Liberal Party.
Look, here's the thing about all the things I don't like. I don't like them. It's just how it is.
but I remember the good old days of Cool Mints.
Joining us down satellite as well is Zach, of course,
Oh, yeah.
also from Super License. Listen to that. Listen to the clarity of getting this right in one take, Zach.
We couldn't get hoverboards, but we got Zoom with a mild delay. Or if this was 20 years ago, there would be a satellite truck out the front at a cost of $2,000 an hour just to get the voice of Zach down the line. Now, thanks to COVID.
How do you know it's not costing me that much money to get down the line? How do you know that? Maybe this is the clarity that you're experiencing right now is down to my supreme setup with the satellite redundancy out the front as well, just in case.
I'll be honest, Australia mucked up the NBN in so many ways, but I can't speak for what Boris Johnson or to a lesser extent Tony Blair's telecommunications plan was, in 2004.
Boris is ready to zipline in my front window with a cellular-based Wi-Fi modem ready for me, just in case.
There's too much Wi-Fi
we can't get the
around.
recording done.
56k modem, dial-up internet. It's great because no one's on it.
You can say what you like, but you sound so bright. You sound brighter than Rob's shoes, I'll tell you.
Oh,
As the most visual podcasts now on
Keep it
radio. It's
going.
now the
Had to keep it
collective.
going.
Yes. Do you want to describe the shoes? I can't say them.
They are orange.
That's pretty good.
And
are they racing shoes?
No, you know what? I've actually, because now I'm over 30, racing shoes are now uncomfortable. So we've entered the I am now too old for this shit era of our lives. And so I've compromised with just a pair of Converse.
In the second wave of ruining our arches.
The best way is they're slightly less severe wearing Converse. So I'm in my 30s. I reckon I'll go to Doc Martens when I'm in my 40s. But
Graduate to Doc Martens in your 40s.
but nevertheless, I have bought them at DFO. So I bought them at a direct factory outlet because I wanted the
Very nice.
discount.
That's good. I just thought you always wore the racing shoes just in case. Just in case.
Every so
we need a
often-
guy.
Not because
Yeah.
you can see it, but you
Quick.
can feel it.
But every so often I do
Yeah.
crack them out. There is a pair. Actually, legitimately, I have a pair of racing boots that I do have that I have wanted to premiere into the public sphere, but there are days where I'm like, you know what? I reckon Tuesday it's going to be a nice day. It'll be 25, no rain, so there's no chance of getting my suede shoes ruined. They're black and yellow, so the yellow bit I don't want to get ruined. But then I'm all brave and puff my chest out, all cock a hoop, saying yes, I will wear them. And I get to Wednesday morning, I'm like, oh, no, I'll just put on my sneakers today. I don't want the attention. I don't want to be asked about them. They are like 20
Just,
years old, the shoes I have. But I've worn them like twice. Not these ones I'm wearing now, but that was more for Rodney's sake.
Yeah, no.
If you're listening, it's
This whole show is
What's
basically
everybody
for
else
me right
wearing?
now.
Michael, what shoes have you got on?
Oh, look, I've got a pair of brown shoes.
brown.
Brand unknown.
Brown.
Outlet
You've got
unknown.
If they're racy stripe, if
Thank you.
just living
like
up
if
to
a raccoon was a pair of brown shoes, this is what's...
Yes. Is that how you are?
Okay.
I can go
Impressive.
for that description. Yes.
Yeah.
Probably.
Nice. And Rod, you've got your studio podcast slippers on, right?
They're basically slippers. These are all birds. I've got a pair of slippers that are the same as these. They're just the same but without laces. And they're called slippers, but these are shoes.
Right.
These are shoes.
What
These are
shoes do you
real
have
shoes.
unusual? Box Editions Discord, 96900 693.
Well, Zach, I feel like you must be wearing something interesting. I don't want to
Yeah.
turn this into what you're wearing, but considering the setup.
No. This is the reason I was reflecting because I looked down. I was like, wow, I'm in Bond's tracky dacks, which means
Wow.
I've had
Wow.
these for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And it just sucks because I'm at home.
So one dead
and it's the
giveaway.
morning.
So one dead giveaway is that you are WFH, as of this recording. We've had the audacity to wear pants, but given that we've spent some 8 minutes talking about what shoes are you wearing and what pants are you wearing, clearly you could sum up this season as sweet F all occurred. So therefore, we're not getting to the June. I remember the end of 21. It was I reckon we spoke for about five hours about.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Lewis Hamilton. And
we had
Max
to leave. We got
Verstappen.
kicked out. Was that the year we got kicked out?
Quite possibly.
Must have been earlier than that, actually, 21.
When did we get kicked out?
There was one year should I say at the ABC? We got kicked out because we were just going on for like 3 hours.
I do seem to remember
We
that.
committed to a format that was way too ambitious.
Yes, this is right. Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, we used 2 studios for that format. That's
Oh,
how ambitious
yeah.
it was.
I remember
The
that.
Hard and Heavy show
Boy,
came on
back in the
Triple
old
J.
day when we had stamina.
No, hang on, Radio National has a 7-hour arts show that needs to come on. What are you doing? They need 4 hours of prep.
Three-quarters of us had a few drinks before this as well.
One of my favorite things about recording this show, though, is that on our show, superlicense.fm, you will, Rod and I will kind of hedge on our last episode of the season. We're like, we might see you in the new year, or maybe before then, because we might be, but we're not sure. And then after that show, we're like, we should really message the boys and see what we do. Promising it.
Maybe this is the year.
The great thing, because I always
free.
think exactly. Although I think actually no, we're past the point where we pretty much just say it. But then I didn't message Rod. I was like, we'll sort it out. Like, don't worry, we'll sort it out.
Yeah,
The
it'll be
day I was
fine.
going to message him, Rod messaged me and said,
up, Mel?
when are we recording?
Like
I
clockwork.
feel like I asked you how you were, and you were like,
did,
"Oh
you
yeah,
did. Yes, you did.
here's how I am. We should do a show." Like,
Yeah,
we still should really.
We should. This could be it. This could be the show.
Maybe
Rodney.
this is the one.
This might be the one. The end of year episode.
You know what? This is also an interesting format, right? Because there's a video game podcast I listen to called The Besties, and they used to do like 12 years ago, they used to do like a weekly show where they try to decide like the best game that came out like that week. And then they stopped doing the format because it was too much for them, and they just changed to doing like one show in the year at the end of the year. Like, and so then they would just do like a couple of shows at the end of the year to decide what they thought was the best game of the year. That became so popular, that show, that they brought it back monthly, and now they go weekly again. Like they've had a full a full arc of like too hard, totally stopped, come back a little bit, fully back. Maybe that will happen to this show, and eventually we'll be doing this episode every week.
It sounds a bit like the first episode of Box of Neutrals where we faked our own demise
Absolutely.
in the interest of
This year, you mean?
of satire. Yeah, we did the fake WTF one death.
It wouldn't have worked nearly as well. It'd been the first episode ever. of
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah. What a way to do it.
Yeah.
I think I might be setting up a new podcast next year. I think I've got to.
Well, you might be setting 365 new podcasts up next year.
But think about all the ones I've wanted to set up. I've got box of, ACMA, box of
They've all got to be
Helvetica.
box of, huh?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Well, naturally.
It's a group for tax purposes. It works easier.
Oh, it's a group.
Yeah.
The podcast group, box of.
Part of the box of group of podcasts, absolutely. Does anyone want to talk about Formula One today?
Yes.
I don't know.
We should have a crack.
Could you have a go?
There's bits and pieces that occurred.
I think so.
We'll brush it. If I get bored, I'll interject with some,
Well, I was-
slanderous radio stories.
I don't want to be too
don't I-
prescriptive, but I thought we might do maybe a highlight each or a low light each, or you can choose.
Because what every year each of us bring to the table. It's like Christmas. Everyone brings a panettone. So my
I don't
panettone,
like that.
my panettone or panettone, depending on your local capital city.
Not to be confused
I thought it
with
was Pantone.
Of which
Pantone, my Pantone.
no, my Pantone. Yes, as the
Everyone
That's
chooses a
Pantone of the year.
Pantone colour, and
best.
we'll compare it.
Dusk pink.
my 373C for today
Oh, cool.
is it's actually I got two of them. I have
Rob's
an 8
firing off. Look at this.
I have
No
an eight-
introduction required.
I have an 84E as well to offer for the table for you Pantone enthusiasts out there.
Yes.
My first one though, and I have sizzled it. I've sizzled both actually.
Have you?
But it was so good, and I couldn't come up with another one because I couldn't trump it, of which I already have an answer for, so I don't have to weasel my way into bullshitting an answer as I typically do. It is the Balls of Steel Award for
okay.
2023, of which, if you listen to the last episode of Box of Neutrals, it went... Oh, I don't have the audio of it. Hang on a sec. Bear with me.
Do you want me to?
The balls
Yes.
of steel for Rob for
Please.
setting that up and hoping and then going, oh, I don't have the button.
I was so adamant
You
that I
can
had
do
the
it.
recording.
You can recover this.
Hang on.
What about the second thing you're going to talk about?
Hang on.
Can we do that and loop back around to the balls of steel?
Loop back around the ball.
It was actually. Hang on, I have my original. No, I'll go back to the balls because I found the YouTube
Don't
clip.
neglect
I
it.
found the YouTube.
Oh, thank
Here we
God.
go.
So the Balls of Steel award, of which I feel like my nomination cannot be trumped, so I've kind of front-loaded the award here. The Balls of Steel award goes to Esteban Gutierrez's junior lookalike at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for just utterly, as the kids say, pawning or owning Ted Kravitz during Ted's Notebook.
Don't know anything about this. Give me the full blow-by-blow.
Well, I have some pre-recorded audio, not AI generated, and no copyright intended, courtesy of Sky Sports F1, or in my instance today, brought to you by random F1 videos and stuff.
Wow.
That's all right. Well, you captured the moment, and with a Ferrari cap as well. You see that? You're a Ferrari fan.
I think
who isn't?
Mercedes fan. I think
No,
you are Mercedes. No.
I'm not a fan. I don't like any of these teams.
Yeah, but this is Sky
happen.
Sports UK, so I think you support Mercedes.
No, I really don't.
Okay, I trust you.
I don't know how clear. I don't care what any of these teams do. I'm just here to report on them.
Good.
You, on the other hand, are wearing a Ferrari hat. So clearly, you are a Ferrari fan.
I'm a clearly Ferrari fan.
Okay, good. I'm glad we got that sorted.
Bye, have a good day.
Good. Have a good day to you too.
He winked. I really just worked out he's winked. Every time I watch this video, I find something new. So for those of you playing
Esteban
along at
Gutierrez
home,
man winked.
yes, the little Esteban little Esteban. To backtrack, so little Esteban was at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in the paddock, had all the right lanyards on. I believe he's wearing 2 with some amended sort of extra passes sewn onto them as well.
How do you get 2? I can't even get 1.
As someone that's under 18, how are you getting that many passes? Nevertheless,
He gets into the Capri Sun Lounge.
Yes.
He's
no verification needed. Walk on through, sir. But he went to get a selfie with George Russell. In fact, he had admitted he'd already had 2 selfies. So it was his second helping of selfie time with George Russell. Now, he was wearing a Ferrari hat, of which Ted was just a little, oh, you're wearing a Ferrari hat. Was not expecting this recently. Was not expecting this teenager to then come back and say, you are Sky Sports UK. You are, I think you're a Mercedes fan. And then Ted instantly does not make eye contact with little Esteban, is immediately defensive. But the whole thing is that he's just completely tensing up in front of this 16-year-old boy, I'm assuming. And either way, Ted was gone. Either he either admits, yes, I like Ferrari. You know what? I'm gonna own it, and then everyone's, I told you so. Or he has a standoff, a tense standoff with a teenager on live television. Either way, he was doomed from the get-go.
Yeah.
But for the kid to just do that and then wink to the camera at the very end, wow! That is easily the Balls of Steel award. The Ted Kravitz Nut Award goes
Maybe
to
you
little
could get a
Esteban.
lanyard with little nuts hanging from it.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Like you see at the back of some utes
as
and the covering the toe bar.
Truck nuts.
As
Sorry,
I
truck nuts.
I described on our program, I described him as F1's version of Egg Boy. Because the comments are scathing towards Ted, of which comments such as, this kid is a legend, 64 likes.
Where Ted went wrong is he needed to shut it down straight away, but he couldn't help but keep
Yep.
bringing up,
No.
I noticed you've got a Ferrari cap.
Didn't even say,
You got a little Ferrari cap there, have you? Oh, look at you in your little Ferrari cap.
even had to say, no, I don't like either of these teams. Just like we
Frankly,
were asking whether you don't.
Couldn't even spell F1.
I only liked the Queen.
Rest in peace. I mean, Zach, as the UK correspondent here, I assume this has caused outrage among British Formula
Yeah,
One.
they're right.
Bureau.
I think it
Are they
never-
still riding
I
on the
actually
street?
think it never went to air. I think it was there must have been a delay sequence and they would have erased it. It would have been a hard jump
They would
cut.
have replaced it with God Save the King.
Yeah. But did the king
Absolutely.
get around to declaring a public holiday for this act or not?
No.
would.
Day of mourning for Ted Kravitz.
Day of
Ted Kravitz's career.
His career is going to be paraded all around in the street, everyone to see.
Yes. Ted, the little foam top for the microphone sits at half mast.
A pair of shorts neatly folded with some Birkenstocks on top.
I think Ted Kravitz is a really interesting one, right? Because
True.
for
Well,
the
true.
F1 OG, Ted Kravitz is like this fun, like extra part of Formula One. That's like, oh look, he's kind of bouncy and interesting, and he's got his own little notebook. He's kind of like this annex of Formula One reporting that you can really kind of dig
Your little
into.
notebook there, dear.
Yeah, and it's,
That's
you
not
know,
even a pen. I don't use a pen. No, that's a stylus.
Yeah, I see
hate
you're
writing.
cussing- Yeah. But I wonder if the newer F1 fan understands any of the Ted Kravitz lore, or like the
His earlier
the
work.
cult of Kravitz, as it were.
I've got to say, I've been like keeping up with the Threads, because the Threads is popping off now that it's live in Europe, and I can tell you what all the young kids are into. They're into repeating the exact same 3 memes over and over and over again to a painful degree. If you had to outlaw, you can't hear a picture, the picture. If you had to outlaw that and mentions of the Roman Empire, Threads would fucking go broke overnight.
Wow, is Threads only on the Roman Empire now? That was easily 12 weeks ago.
Peak,
wasn't it?
it's
Yeah.
peak Roman Empire.
Wow,
on there.
But for me, Ted Kravitz, I feel like he's having his first Australiana lingo for those North Carolinians out there. What's your second biggest audience, Rodney and Zach?
US, UK, and then us. So yeah, go for your
so
life.
other nations, it's good. Ted Kravitz is enduring what I'm describing as his Pete Evans moment, where sort of it's like, okay, he's sort of the weird looking judge on My Kitchen Rules. Everyone loves Manu. Manu, no questions asked. But for Ted Kravitz, everyone's just going, oh, this is a bit weird now. He's just spousing off. He's just going off piste. Sky Sports, they enjoy some mild sort of conspiracy theories, but Ted Kravitz fully subscribed
Just a
to
little
Abu
bit.
Dhabi 2021, that's for sure.
Wasn't Manu embroiled in a wages scandal?
No, that was George Columbaris.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Manu, I think,
Yes.
just had a restaurant that closed down.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Something simple like
Okay.
that.
Which is
gosh.
just a common occurrence. That just happens.
Happens.
You know, in George Columbaris' situation, it was far more nefarious. That it was entire chains closing down, and perhaps there was no money there at all. But obviously,
I heard he was
this is-
underpaying. Anyway, why are we talking about this?
It
What's your
doesn't take
Balls
us
of
much
Steel
to get
award?
distracted. Yeah.
So we're not shipping.
I don't think
Kravitz in this.
I
kid?
think it's. I think this is unfair. I don't think it takes much to stand up to Ted Kravitz. I think if anything,
There's more in the
he's an
tank.
easy
Wait,
target.
are you saying this kid
Yeah.
is
I would-
punching down?
I think he's bullying. Yeah, I think this kid has gone after Ted Kravitz as an
That's
easy
a big
mark.
call. I don't know. One of them's on national
He knows
TV
he's got a
and stuff.
live TV microphone. He can't swear. He
Yeah.
can't fight back.
Exactly.
There's no
He's trapped
physical
there.
violence
It's
allowed.
all the chips are in his
Yeah.
stack, aren't they?
That's an
Exactly
interesting
right.
take. It's a very interesting take. I don't know.
It's like when the other now he's a Melburnian reference. Whenever Tony Jones, some idiot, you're like Trumpet,
Yeah.
and he just wants to have he just that right fist is
Yeah.
clenched. Just, I wish.
I think that is a good analogy.
Is
I
the
like
new
that.
challenge for this episode no on track discussion? Should we set
Well,
ourselves that
no.
goal?
Well, I'm happy with the Balls of Steel award.
Yeah.
I'm happy because it's mildly controversial too,
Yeah,
as all
but-
good awards should be.
It could be any form of bravery, cowardice or genuine bravery.
that's true.
Otherwise,
Okay.
It could be an overtake. It could be. It could
Could be overtaking Ted Kravitz.
It could be-
crashing into Ted Kravitz.
or it could be the further televisual award for Jensen Button, sort of looking at Danica Patrick and it's going, okay, yep, yeah, righto.
Fair enough. Yeah. So we're all coming up with the Balls of Steel
Oh,
award. Is that
no,
what
no,
we're
play,
doing?
well, I mean, it's up to you.
Or is it that's just Rob thing?
No, I think
okay.
everyone gets their
That's
own
a Rob
award,
thing.
usually.
Okay.
I've got an award for you. I've
Here
got
we
an
go.
on-track award. I've
Oh.
got a racing award for us that is. But really, I just want to talk about these few drivers, this back of the grid stuff. So my award is for the. Would you like to rise with that? Goes to Liam Lawson as the accoutrement, the extra, just a little bit like the addendum to this something added on to this season, because this little cameo, which I loved, was wrapped up in like Daniel Ricciardo's coming back. Oh my goodness, look, here he is. Then wasn't very good. and then broke his hand, and everyone was
Yeah.
like, oh, well, this is a bit of a
Whoops.
weird stuttering re-entrance, because there's so much cult of brand around Daniel Ricciardo. Comes back in, and then they're like, oh, all right, let's go get the guy who we probably should have put in the car, Liam Lawson. And Liam Lawson starts doing really, really, really well. Gets points as well in Singapore? I think I've got the details up here.
I think
Let me
so,
just go to the tape. Gets 2 11th finishes and a 9th. Couple of points for the team. And throws the entire, what I think of the entire fandom around this, like, wait a second, maybe Daniel Ricciardo's just an old man who's not that good, and Liam Lawson's actually excellent, and we're usually on the side of bringing young drivers in and like coming in and supporting them, and like, oh God. And now I wonder if anybody will even remember this, like Liam Lawson racing in that season. Will he just be, segregated into the annals of time of future Super License F1 podcast quizzes, like super quizzes, or will this genuinely be a launchpad to an F1 career? Because it's not next year. Nick, would you like Nick DeVries with that? Liam Lawson, should he have kept that seat for the rest of the season, and should he be in Formula One this year? To the panel.
I have a reaction, Jared. I have a reaction.
There's a Box Initials crossover no one asked for. Well, no, hang on. That was my answer for Robbo's answer, I should say.
I have a reaction, Jared. I have a reaction.
For Daniel Ricciardo not being in that seat. But for Liam as in to your original question being, will anyone remember Liam Lawson? That is the overreaction in terms of that he will be forgotten. Absolutely not. His stocks are forever steady. They were already pretty high anyway. Everyone had a good, I think, guess that he was going to be up there. But I think it just confirmed his ability, and I think it's a case of if he doesn't get in, it is just damn well unlucky and an indictment on not enough cars being on the grid and nobody having a mature conversation about third cars. I rest my case. You're right.
Whoa.
You're right about his reputation. He's got the name now, but if he doesn't get a seat next year, and he may not get one the year after, the reputation isn't going to go anywhere yet.
But if you got the likes of, you got to look at other cases on the grid. You look at your Nico Hulkenbergs and your Kevin Magnusons of the world, who have had multiple comebacks into Formula One. Yes, you're not putting Liam Lawson in the same category as Stoffel Van Dorn or someone that got to go and is not coming back.
No, I'm not.
He'll be back on the grid in some kind of form, and
that would be good. Yeah.
If anything, it was maybe unlucky that, say, Logan Sargent wasn't moved on in a more volatile team environment at Williams.
Media darling Logan Sargent, though.
Yes.
I feel like it's so many takes at the end of this season. We're like, actually, Logan Sargent is really good, everybody. I know he only got 1 point, but no, he's excellent. Why are you all being so mean?
I will say this about the grid this year. Despite the level of hostility towards certain... And just the pressure applied, like especially to Sergio Perez, Nick DeVries was the early hit and target, and so really you could argue that they got a kill, for lack of a better term. They got Nick DeVries out of a drive so quickly. But, the likes of Sergio, if it wasn't for Nick DeVries, Sergio Perez would have probably even had more heat applied onto him. Logan Sargent was an obvious candidate as well. The Haas drivers kind of got away with it, if I'm perfectly honest, as well. Even Lance Stroll broke his hand, had a shoved over his trainer to the point where people were saying, that's clearly a sackable offence. But everyone remembers who the team owner is and instantly goes, no, that's not going to cut it either. It's quite remarkable, I think, that we didn't have more fall off the perch this year.
I really like this award because
one.
it speaks to this really inbuilt conservatism in the grid right now. Like, this is going to be the first year in which the grid is exactly the same at the last race of 2023 as it is in 2024, where the grid has not changed.
That's mad.
It's mad, isn't it? Like, the sport's 75 years old or something like that. However old it is. Older than 75 years. It's pretty good innings.
Definitely older than Rod.
If it collapsed tomorrow, well, I mean, yes.
That's our age combined
right.
minus
his grid
about
changes
30.
regularly. So he's way ahead on this one.
At my age, you have to change your grid twice a day.
Now, I'm a fan of the Ricciardo comeback.
Yes.
Just processed what you said.
Thanks.
I'm a fan of the Ricciardo comeback. But it's still in the context of that team having chosen Nick de Vries first, which is a driver that evidently no one at Red Bull really wanted there to begin with.
Yeah, had heard of.
Yeah, in hindsight, it's bewildering that he was ever there.
Exactly. Like they just needed someone like, yeah, you got a point.
One day, I want to do this. I want to do a sort of a BuzzFeed style listicle of the duds of Helmut Marko, because for the hits that he had along the way, my God, there have been some stragglers that he's...
Absolutely. And the weird thing is not even he seemed to really want him there. Like, that's what I don't get. So there's that. And then in that context, you can see why Daniel Ricciardo appears to be an uninspired choice, because he's had his shot, he's had a go, and he's got to go. But I understand the reason why they want to give him another go,
Yes.
just because if they can get him back to his old self, actually very valuable asset. But in that context, in the context of the driver selection at Haas, in the context of Lance Stroll still being in now a almost race-winning contending car, in the context of Sergio Perez racing at Red Bull, this is a very boring and unimaginative grid in components. Like in the whole, obviously we've got superstars on this grid, goes without saying, but the fill-in seats, let's say, the guys who are not expected to be title contenders, are there almost beyond their remit. And you can almost argue it for Logan Sargent, you was kind of touching on there, which is that, all right, I like the idea that a rookie driver gets a second season if the first one wasn't perfect but showed some promise, but there are clearly drivers who deserve a crack that I think could justify, Liam Lawson being an obvious choice, pushing him out. So I think this award's really quite good because it kind of speaks to the idea that everyone's kind of lost their, I don't know, creativity, their dare in driver selection.
I think you're spot on about the dare. I think Rod and I have lamented this throughout this season, that I think the jeopardy's kind of moving away. It's not even like the fact that we're getting no grid changes into the no driver lineup really into the new season. We also haven't, like the usual Formula One things are like, team's folded, two teams are not going to make it. This team's being renamed, all that kind of stuff. That model's completely gone. Like this is the most stable grid in the entire like modern F1 era. And I think that that's 100% down to Liberty Media and the Formula One management being like, you know what, let's make this sport profitable. Or not profitable, let's make it really stable. Let's lock everybody into good contracts where everyone's happy and everyone's kind of happy with their state of like where they exist in Formula One as well. Because it's better to be in and not winning, but there, than trying to win, like, but having the jeopardy of like, but if we try and we really fail, then we can't afford to be here anymore. It's kind of turning into like the NFL. It doesn't actually really matter that you perform. It's as long as you're there. And I think that just breeds the absolute conservatism that you're talking about, because there's no real push. Like, why would Haas go and chance it on a couple of young drivers? They've been there. They did that already, So they're like, we'll just get these two guys who are fine. And they're fine. And they're kind of marketable. And they're just guys. Just a couple of guys.
I'll give you a supplementary award off the back of yours, Zach. So if we look at the whole concept of, is the grid too conservative? Because I think most of the grid, we can say there's a clear distinction between number one and number two on the grid.
Yeah.
If you look at the field, I want you to ponder this. So if you compare, because I think for mine, the award for I think the strongest lineup, the best 1 and 2 pairing, the 1 + 2 = 6 pairing, I think has to be Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz at Ferrari. Of course, they get minus points because of Ferrari. But both of those
1
drivers,
1 + 2 maybe = 3 in this scenario.
You got apart from maybe, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz. I think he's probably, if I had to pluck out a team together of drivers, if I had the option of those two, I'd be pretty happy with my bunch.
Yep.
Same with, I'll probably say Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri.
Yep.
Just behind. And then you think that Lewis Hamilton, George Russell was an easy number one. But George, I think, had a pretty average, all things considered, I think he had a pretty average season.
Yeah, I think he's come down from a pretty good season the year before. That might be why he seems worse than he maybe is, though.
He would be a lot worse if Sky Sports F1 wasn't the de facto world broadcaster. because
those Mercedes lovers.
Because they give him a yeah.
I trust
No,
you.
I don't like either team. I like Van Wall and British Touring Car Championship. But Rob Huff, what a great driver. I feel like George Russell got away with a lot more. And that I'm not saying that George Russell's a bad driver. I just think he maybe it's very much the team he's at. You expect a lot more. If George Russell was in the championship standings as he was in, say, Williams, for example, you say brilliant. What a talent. But I think even he admits, and I think he's shown signs this season that he's going, yeah, I've kind of wasted some opportunities this season. I've made some errors. I'm not happy with myself. And so that's probably fair enough. And that's why he kind of gets a leave pass because he knows that he could do a lot better. And so that's fine. He's self-aware, at least. 2
podiums, 3 retirements. He was kind of a bit crash-tastic, it felt like, as well. Like, he felt like he was in tangles. Like, inconsistent is the right word, I think.
George Russell was 8th in the Drivers' Championship with 170. He was last of the triple-digit drivers. Oscar was 9th. Like, if you look at it
it's
from
a big difference, but yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
there was a gap between them, quite considerable gap between them.
Yeah, but one's a rookie.
Yeah.
And one's been in Formula One for 4 years.
Yeah. I think there's also a degree of Lewis Hamilton stepped up a little bit more this year. Like, there were more periods during the middle of the season in particular where the car looked kind of good for some tracks sometimes, and Hamilton the last 2 years has clearly been a driver who's needed to see light at the end of the tunnel. And he's got, while the car ultimately ended up nowhere this season, there's no doubt Mercedes needs to overhaul that car. There were more races this year than last year, which he kind of looked like he was in for. Obviously, he scored a lot of podiums, so he was in for a shot of the podium. 1 or 2 races was a long shot for a win, but the best shot that wasn't Max Verstappen for a win. Yeah. And that was enough to make him step up. And I think more maybe than reflecting on George, it reflects on people who last year were like, well, Lewis is done. Like, George has come in, he's taken the baton immediately, and that's Lewis's old news now. You know, he's been too cooked by the events of 2021.
Excellent point.
I think there's a degree of that, and I do think George was more inconsistent. Like, I don't think that was a bad word, Zach, because I think that's definitely the case. But I also think there is that second element of it, which was that Lewis has had a better year this year and shown that if he gets a better car, he'll be...
Sorry, someone did better. We just have to be reminded of that.
Just opened my notebook, sorry.
All right, I think we've ventilated that one fairly well. Perhaps we'll come back to it's just another reference to the air conditioner. You can still hear sound, just in case for those who have already dropped off from the first 25 minutes. Rodney, would you like to go next?
Cool. Well, you said we should do a new topic. I was like, Michael's got something ready to go.
Oh, I mean, I do somewhere.
No, I think you usually do it at home, so I'm happy to step in next if you like. I can't think of a great award name other than maybe the Caddyshack Strategy Award. For Carlos Sainz doing the strategy that won him the race, giving the DRS to the car behind, the kind of thing that we all like. Wouldn't it be funny if he just let the car behind have DRS for like 25 laps? Wouldn't that be funny, fellas? But he bloody did it, and I mean, I appreciate that. Not to take anything away from the fact that it was the only non-Red Bull win for the season, so the stakes were friggin' high.
Yes.
Not to mention it's Singapore where everyone's brain shuts down from the humidity. So to pull it off, I just thought was a feat.
You're right, Rodney. The stake F1 kick team Sauber.
I see what you did there.
You can see me frankly for that one.
I was great. It was a great race, great execution, great outcome. What was not great was that every race after that to the end of the year,
we can do that
David
too.
Croft would say, Do you think he could just give him the DRS and maybe do the Carlos Sainz? Like, no, he can't do that. Doesn't work at this track, and no one is in contention for the victory who is at Max Verstappen.
At least he stopped talking about undercutting.
I have a reaction, Jared.
True.
I have a reaction.
So what are we overreacting to, Jared?
It's not my question.
No, you were playing overreaction.
I just played it because it was funny.
Okay, very good.
Overreaction, George Russell in that race.
It was
to your point.
overreaction to David Croft.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
But is that the smartest thing Carlos Sainz did all season? Because we were just talking about how great driver lineup that Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, and it's true, it is. Except a kind of unremarkable season for Carlos Sainz in every other way.
And Charles, to be honest, too.
Well, it's really interesting there, because I definitely agree that is the strongest lineup. I think it's really hard to argue against it.
In terms of stocks, if you were investing in the team, that's 2 very good drivers on the surface.
Yeah, at the 4th best Formula One team.
Yes.
Well, I mean, by the end of the year, they were Actually, when you say it out loud, the third best doesn't sound a lot better.
Actually, I have you know
But
that they're maybe the third. The points will say they're the third best team,
Yes.
but that's
Yeah,
only because
equal
Aston Martin
third,
has
maybe?
1.1 drivers. You know,
Yes.
that's
No, I meant like even in terms of quality, not just the points.
Yeah.
Because Mercedes didn't deserve to be second in the. They did literally deserve to be second in the constructors' standings.
You're right.
Because they scored enough points. But clearly, I think over the course of the year, or let's say in the second half of the year, when teams started to decide, particularly in Mercedes Ferrari's case, if they understood the car, where they were going for next year. Ferrari, I'm much more optimistic about Ferrari next year than I am Mercedes.
Oh, wow.
That's sort of what I'm getting at there. In fact, I'm more optimistic about Ferrari, certainly than Aston Martin. Maybe not as much as McLaren. Like, I feel pretty good about the way McLaren's going. So I feel like Ferrari and McLaren are the two teams most likely to be challenging next year, if anyone's going to challenge.
I think you're right in the sense that Ferrari know what their problem is themselves.
Yes.
Mercedes have got no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
When you
That's
got
still something, though.
I think for me it was striking, and I only learnt this, the other week when James Allison said that I've got to fix this because it's dysfunctional and people aren't communicating. It's just the structure of their premiership winning era is clearly not there. So it's not as simple as like, we just had a couple of dud seasons, we'll get it right eventually. It's clearly it's the structure somehow decayed because they were just caught up on Abu Dhabi 2021. So it just didn't help that they had Ted Kravitz coming in as a motivational speaker, just reminding them. But no, it was. But yeah, if someone like that is saying that, the structural methods of why Mercedes were successful when they were just isn't there at the moment, it's quite telling. So for them, who knows how long they'll be? They could easily sit in that third or fluke their way to second best team on the grid. But it is interesting. You still, despite evidence showing time and time again that Ferrari so often disappoints, you're still going to be picking Ferrari as improving the most and being closest to potentially Red Bull, which is remarkable. We're going to be so wrong next year. But
we've said this-
Aston Martin are back.
we were saying that with Vettel all the time. And then when Charles Leclerc got there, not to say it was just all on the drivers, but it's like, just Ferrari, they're just, if it wasn't for X team's dominance, they'd be right there. And they're just forever the bridesmaid. When is Ferrari ever going to be the team that cracks it? Why can't they be the team that cracks it? It's like coming into the new season, like, yes, Ferrari's they've got the car to beat. Like, when was the last time that actually happened?
If it wasn't for all the teams beating Ferrari, they would be winning.
Yeah, mate, you joke about
Right.
this.
Speak the truth.
Yeah.
I was at the Ferrari. I think that's in their culture. Like, I think that's in the team culture. I was at Maranello a few weeks ago, and they have all these amazing winning Formula One Ferraris, Formula One cars, and under every plaque is like, if it just wasn't for all of the other teams being really excellent, this car was the best car you've ever seen. Like, well regarded, and this driver. Oh, gee, they were so good.
Yeah.
Do we just let Ferrari? Is this just the brand of Ferrari now? We all just go, almost every season. Not bad for a team that is dysfunctional. Like, why do we let them off in that way?
I feel like there's so many more teams that mask it. I feel like they're even still riding the credits of Toyota not delivering when they entered Formula One. It was always the talk of, no, the 2010 car, that was going to be their broad. That was going to be the car to stop all. Everyone talks about that 2010 Toyota. It's always funny. The cars that never make it onto the grid always have this mysterious,
this aura.
mythical aura that they were going to be the best car on the grid. The Stefanovic Grand Prix car of 2010 was going to be remarkable.
Then it got drunk at the Logies.
Yeah,
And then
it's the players that are injured that everyone is missing.
Exactly.
Right?
It's just like, no, they would have smashed everybody. So we're still riding on some Toyota credits there. But you're right. Ferrari still have that. But nevertheless, you've still got the likes of McLaren that are sort of have had a turbulent time. Nobody's in charge of Alpine. It is like a shopping trolley found in a creek. You don't know whether it's Cole Springvale or Cole Wheelers Hill. Neither are going to claim ownership of it because they're going to say, well, not my problem.
It's a world of possibilities. It's a new world of possibilities.
Could be anything.
So I want to ask then, in the context of this award,
Oh, yes.
my
award.
Caddyshack Award, just to go back to your great name. Let's flip this around a little bit. Aside from Carlos Sainz doing a great race, Ferrari being a little bit all over the place, what about the drive? Like, what does this mean for Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz's careers? Like, we've said that strongest driver lineup, probably the most competitive out there. Shame about the team they're racing for. Like, is this all? Is this going to be it for them? Like, for Charles Leclerc is doomed to rack up pole position after pole position and never win a race, and Carlos Sainz will win like one, and it'll be really great, and then he won't win another one for the rest of the year. Like, is this? Have they reached their peak? Unfortunately,
but what could you? I mean,
shame.
okay, so Max Verstappen wins nearly every race in the whole season. So couldn't you point to any other driver and be like, "Why isn't this guy winning? Why isn't that guy winning?"
but I mean, we're also saying that
point you're trying
like
to
Ferrari, even next year, if it's more competitive, it's unlikely to be Ferrari. Because surely, guys, Red Bull can't do it all again next year, right? Like, there has to be at least a couple of other winners.
Michael just fucked everything. Next year is doomed now.
Why don't we link that back to some of the question we were talking before about the conservative grid? What was the last big driver move that you can name of one big team to another?
It would probably be Vettel leaving Ferrari, getting sacked from Ferrari, and landing at Aston Martin, like back of the grid team at the time.
Yeah, or even Vettel going from Red Bull to Ferrari.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Red Bull were in the doldrums. Like, that's probably the last time, and that's what, 2015?
No.
I guess Alonso going to
Maybe
Aston
that.
Martin was, but he wasn't going there as a champion or as like a. While he continues to be an elite driver, he wasn't going there like off the back of victories and things like that. It was still speculative when he went to Aston Martin. So yeah, quite possibly.
Ricardo to
we
Renault,
didn't-
surely.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That was a
big
hype
deal.
train because it was perfect.
Yeah, hype train, but I suppose I mean like I suppose he was a race winner and everything. That's true. But there's no like when the Mercedes seat came up, maybe not to be like F1 are not of old, but a little bit like that. Like the Mercedes seat comes up. Did Mercedes go to the mark and be like, let's get the fucking next best driver on this grid and put him in that seat because we want to try and win every single race possible? No, they went, all right, let's get him. He's the guy. He's been contracted for a long time. Suppose he was always going to be the next guy. And he's fine. You know, he's a good driver. But he's definitely not there with Max and Lewis as far as like of a generation driver. And I don't think we'll ever, like, unless we see Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc at literally any other team, maybe, or like at either Mercedes or Red Bull, will we ever really be able to say that they're like, oh, those two, they were some of the best, because the results aren't there.
Because there's very rarely an era where I think you get an average world champion winning the world championship or being at the best team at the right time. I mean, like everyone, you know, hangs shit on Damien Hill and Jacques Villeneuve because it was the best car by a long shot. But there was never an era where there wasn't a Schumacher, where there wasn't Senna, where there wasn't Hamilton, where there wasn't Vettel. With these drivers, I mean, let's face it, at least box of neutrals. In our time, I think we worked it out. There have been, out of 13 odd seasons, Sebastian Vettel, Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen.
That's it.
That's 4. They're 4.
Yeah, and we're lucky to get Rosberg.
Yeah. So it really should be 3. So really, we have 4 world champions in 13 odd years. Just the maths doesn't add up.
When you compare that to, I think, our first episode, China 2013, there were 6 world champions on the grid that season.
Yeah.
And now there are only 3, right? Hamilton, Alonso, Verstappen?
Yeah, and Alonso by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, and Alonso's like had to come back to get there.
By the skin of his dentures. Don't be ageist.
Well, when was Alonso's world championship? 20 years ago?
2006.
I was going to say,
we are getting alarmingly close to it being 20 years ago.
He is writing some remarkable
mental.
credit.
Yeah.
He has some incredible
exactly.
references. I don't know what Pedro Della Rosa is doing, but whatever work he's doing to pump up Alonso.
Is Fernando Alonso actually the Nico Rosberg of his era? He just hung around for a long time.
That is
that is a big call.
That is a big call. That is a big call. I mean,
it's such a big call that Robbo, what do you think?
You know what the answer is here, Jared? I wrote down, I don't know.
That's big.
It is a big call. It's a big call. I don't know. Look,
because you're as good as the field you play against, I guess.
Well, that is true, isn't it? I don't know. I'd love to see Alonso win races again because I think as we saw, particularly at the start of the year, like less so the second half of the year, but that's also because he wasn't racing for big positions, so you're not looking at him as much. But
he had a second in the Netherlands, I suppose. Middle of the year.
The pursuit of Sergio Perez in Brazil was great. Like that showed again what Alonso's doing there. But I'm even thinking, go back to Bahrain. The way he was just absolutely mugging people.
Yeah.
You know, imagine a whole season of that where he gets to do that. Like
it was almost cool that the Aston Martin just wasn't. It started with a bang. It was such a early promise for this, an unexpected surprise. Was this Aston Martin that was just at the arse end of the field the year before. All of a sudden, you put in Alonso, and he's absolutely flying. He's vindicated, Otmar Zafnauer, and he's outlasted him in the paddock now. So,
Cop that.
it is. I don't know. I hope we have.
It'll outlast us all, really.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably quite seriously. I think it's really interesting. I think as well, in this era of drivers being signed to super long-term contracts, like the rumor is that Charles Leclerc has already signed a new 5-year deal.
Yeah, another one.
It'll take him. Yeah,
Oh, man.
I like it.
I don't mind it, but I wonder. Whereas in the past, your big name drivers, Alonso being a great example, although bad example of getting it right, but a great example of a driver who would move to find the quickest car.
Yeah.
That used to just happen. Like you'd be the big, fish of the driver market. You'd get into the best car.
Yeah.
That's not happening at the moment. And look, we've got time to be proven wrong because the likes of Lando Norris has done the same. Charles Leclerc is doing the same. George Russell to a lesser extent, I guess, but they've got time because they're so young. But Charles Leclerc almost doesn't seem. We've talked about this before in the paddock. It's like after every race this season, he'll get out of the car. And he'll be either very angry, he'll almost look like he's ready to cry, and you're like, "This is it. The relationship with Ferrari, it's cracked."
It's over.
Next day, he'll be like, "I love Ferrari. Like,
That's true.
I don't want to go anywhere else. I'm the happiest I've ever been dressed in red." He loves Ferrari
Call
too
me Charles
much.
Ferrari. I'm
Yeah,
here.
Because he goes to the passage of time. He sits in the plane, ponders about his weekend, but then goes to the airport, goes to the to the valet, the Monaco equivalent of the Virgin Terminal 3 car park, and he'll go, "You know what? Life's pretty good. I could easily do this for the rest of my life." The equivalent of that, it would be, in a hypothetical world, would be if Lewis Hamilton went to Ferrari, if Max Verstappen went to Mercedes.
But it's unimaginable, isn't it?
But
That's
it just
the thing.
doesn't. You're right. It doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
that's it. It is unimaginable that would happen nowadays. And that came around real fast. Like, it wasn't insane when Vettel went to Ferrari.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, match made in heaven. He was always going to end up there, it seems. But I can't think of anything like that now. The last time, I think you're right, Rob, about Daniel Ricciardo. He was the one.
Yeah.
He was the mercenary.
He was
shopping
chasing,
himself around, being like, you think the Renault project is going to work? Great. I'll jump in that Renault. And then I was like, oh, maybe the McLaren project will work. They want me. I'll jump in that McLaren.
That's what I mean.
It was-
Ricardo going to Renault it didn't excite people like this. They're going to smash everybody. It wasn't that mix of like the great driver and the great team finally together. It was just sort of like, oh, okay, yeah, you're going there, cool. And then 10 other drivers switch seats, which is fun too. But I mean, it was entertaining. It was good content, but I don't know. It didn't excite me in terms of the possibility. That's all.
I guess he wasn't going to a race-winning team. That's the difference, right?
No,
like normally
that's
those
true.
big moves are you like the Vettel move, like a race winner
that's what I
going
mean.
from a race-winning team to another race-winning
That's what
team.
I mean.
Yeah. I'm sure that Ferrari were like, Vettel's the last piece, right?
Yes,
He'll come.
exactly.
He'll tell us what the car needs, and this will be the thing.
He'll
Yes.
drag us towards a championship. I was going to say about Leclerc, obviously we just said like, he's just the guy who's just happy to be around Ferrari. And I mentioned Threads before. The Threads went into meltdown yesterday when they asked Leclerc what his favorite ice cream flavor was, and he said, "Can anyone guess? Anyone know?"
Maranello.
It's just gonna
Maranello.
Shell V-Power.
Triple scoop of Maranello, please.
Gonna be a shell flavor.
Vanilla is his choice.
vanilla. Of course, it was vanilla.
Hands
Yeah, of
down, the
course.
best flavor of vanilla. I'm like, are you joking? But obviously, that shows his taste. He's obviously not very imaginative, and he loves just being around and having good stuff.
Just loves ice cream.
Just give me good
Steady-
solid
yeah,
vanilla.
he just wants a steady flavour. There's nothing wrong with vanilla. It's a great.
But that's what I
it's one of
mean.
the great
That's what
flavours.
Ferrari are. They're not gonna think outside the box and like reinvent all four wheels and win a championship. They're just gonna have to fluke it.
You'd get good vanilla in Monaco
But-
as well. I bet.
Yeah,
But this
you
is
would.
the thing. If Ferrari will, I don't see the current structure they have now. They will not have a Red Bull Mercedes S car where they just blitz everybody out of the park. But they will do it with grit and hard work, and they will not believe their luck when they win it.
I'll be
the
confused.
Well,
they will
we've
be-
been waiting since 2007.
Yeah, they will be like, I don't know how
And they
we
still
did
don't know
it.
how they did it in 2007. They reckon they're sitting around going like, how do we pull that off in
Yeah,
2007?
That's true.
do more of that. Can we
Get
get
Kimi Räikkönen on
Can
the
we
phone.
get Kimmy back somehow? Is he
Third
doing
time.
anything?
But
Gosh.
yeah, that's how Ferrari will win it. But I think that's almost more satisfying. I would rather win it that way than just have, Craig Willis. No, not Craig Willis. That's Adrian Newey designing my car.
It does kind of feel like Fernando Alonso is closer to a world championship than either Ferrari driver, I would say. Like he's the guy who's got the grit, the drive, he's got the drive to survive, no doubt, but he's got the wiles as well. Like he knows, like I hate to be all soft factor, but he does like fucking know how to win. Like, and he doesn't, no one passes him. He feels like he's in every single race.
And I feel like there's always a surprise with Fernando Alonso. I would not be surprised if there was a second coming of Ferrari and Fernando Alonso.
Oh my God.
They're just, because he's that cooked that I wouldn't put it past him to conjure up such a ploy.
Remarkable.
So who's better? So we know Leclerc signed up to the new 5-year deal. Do we all assume that Ferrari think that Charles Leclerc is the better driver and better for the brand, and that Carlos Sainz is really the +1, the number 2? But is it possible that Carlos Sainz might actually be the better driver?
I think that's definitely what Ferrari thinks. Admittedly, not by a lot, judging by this year, but that's definitely what they think, because the rumour is also that they're not willing to offer him longer than 1 year on his extension. They're both out of contract next season. But I mean, I think Leclerc is arguably the fastest driver over one lap in Formula One. Right up there with Max and Lewis, maybe above them. I was impressed with the way he dealt with the situation in Abu Dhabi. It didn't change my mind, but the tactical element of his drive was uncharacteristic for him, because I don't think he has as much brain space during a race as Carlos does. And I think that's the difference. Like Carlos is a really great, he's one of those drivers who can see the whole race. Like he does it at Monaco every year. Like he knows what's going on at Monaco before the strategists do at Ferrari. He calls it right. They call it wrong. He doesn't win the race.
Yeah.
Whereas Charles Leclerc is a little bit more like, I'm just going to drive this really fast.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's up to you guys to get us to the front.
And then you tell me what I need to do.
Yes. And unfortunately, inevitably, they tell him something wrong. Well, they don't tell him that they can't
Ferrari.
navigate him. Yeah. And I think that's part of the thing. So, with a better team, you could say that Charles Leclerc would be the better driver. But I think like out of the box, maybe Carlos is your better Grand Prix driver.
You know what I love about Charles Leclerc? And I think this is why people adore him, because I cannot
He's
see
so
him.
good looking.
I can't. He's a good-looking rooster, but I cannot fathom him being in a Mercedes or Red Bull suit, because
he wouldn't be happy.
It just doesn't suit him. It is the rare case where someone values being part of a team and being, apart from the fact that he had a season at Sauber, but it was a satellite operation. He's effectively a one-club player. Is Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
He's a Ferrari guy. And
anywhere else, he's just a racer.
And he doesn't, I feel like he would rather retire with no championships, but always have been a Ferrari driver, than winning 1, 2, or 3 with Mercedes, because he just got them at a good window. Because I think he's a Ferrari guy, and I really, let's be honest, there's no such thing as loyalty in Formula One, but I reckon that's the closest you'll ever
Except for Ted Kravitz and Mercedes, obviously. No, you're right. Charles Leclerc he'll never have to pay for an espresso in Italy ever again if he stays there, right? And that's really what he's angling for.
He's angling to save that €1 a day. That adds up over time.
Vanilla soft serves for the rest of his life.
He will get an OI next to his name. He will get an Order of Italy.
Is that a thing,
Order
Michael? You're the authority on Italy here.
I don't think it's going to be called Order of Italy. That's definitely a thing.
Charles Leclerc.
The Order of Italy, isn't that an espresso?
Charles Leclerc, oi.
Or a macchiato? Oh, you mean an Order of Italy?
Order of Italy, yeah.
Daniel
Macchiato.
Macchiato.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Very good.
All right, look, let's bring this home, because we're running over time already. But I guess I'm going to end on a somewhat...
Sorry, just one more Charles Leclerc fact.
Okay.
Bizarrely typed into Google Charles Leclerc Order of Italy, just knowing that he's never been ordered an Order of Italy, and I think I just wanted to look up what the equivalent of an Order of Italy is. But there's Wikipedia entry from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. Leclerc is trilingual.
Oh, is he?
Being fluent in French, Italian, and English.
Oh,
so there you go.
That's fair.
I'm surprised it's only 3.
I'm disappointed in that.
Yeah.
I thought it would be more than that.
Lift. Wow.
He's from Monaco, right? So he's always going to speak French. Of course he's going to speak English. What was the other one? Italian, because he's at Ferrari. Okay, great.
Also,
why didn't you learn Swiss when you're is that right?
That's
Damn,
German.
quick.
No,
But it's Sauber. Yeah, there is no Swiss. But what part of Switzerland is Sauber in? Maybe they're in the French-speaking part. Maybe that's why I didn't.
But if there's an Italian part, you could win the you could be awarded rather the military order of Italy, and Ferrari is basically part of the. They get part of. Surely they get some defense money.
This is true. This is true.
So surely Charles
definitely
Leclerc will be Ordine Militari d'Italia one day, made in Italy.
Emilia Romagna, made in Italy, Order of Italia. Very good. Kick. Now, so to bring it home, it is a little bit more of a negative award. Doesn't have a snappy name either. I feel it's something we need to work
What?
on.
You've absolutely phoned it in.
No, I haven't phoned it in.
Producing this show, hosting this show, and then you come to the table with no snappy name,
No snappy
depressing
name.
award.
I'm sorry,
Come
I
on.
can't. I'm not very good at thinking of references, so I'm not. Apologise. I'm not lifting here. But the award for me is going to be called the "What Are You Doing Here" award. Could alternatively call it the "You're Wasting Our Time" award.
Yes.
And it goes. It's multiple recipients this year.
Wow.
One of them is Haas.
Yep.
The other one is Alpine. Sauber or Alfa Romeo was going to be the third one, but the fact that they're going to be bought by Audi, I think we know what they're doing here, which is waiting.
Website under construction.
Yeah, exactly. And you know something's coming there. But it's really Haas in particular. If there was sort of a podium situation, they'd be on the top step. Because this is the year where I feel like I've finally lost patience with this Haas project. Because I don't get what they're doing here. We're in a budget cap era, and admittedly, not every team has the full budget cap to spend, but they have a very wealthy backer. They've got one particularly big sponsor that they said was going to bring them to the budget cap. Perhaps they have, in which case, what are they doing with the money? They've brought one upgrade this year, made the car slower. By the end of the year, they've taken the one upgrade off the car. Their driver lineup comprises 2 drivers who have been sacked by other teams, including themselves. It just doesn't really make any sense. And you know, I understand why people like Haas, because Gunther Steiner swears on television. Can't do that in 2023. But how long can that honestly sustain this team? At least with the likes of Williams, you've kind of got the history, and every now and then they take this weirdly large step up the order and then fall back down again, but you have that hope. I mean, again, with Sauber, a historic team, they're going to be bought by Audi. We all kind of get that. AlphaTauri's got a lot of Red Bull money. But with Haas, surely we're at the stage of that project now where someone's got to be going, what are we doing here? Like, what's the plan, guys? And I can't help but think, I think we've mentioned this on the show before as well, Rob, if Andretti gets the nod, which no one's clear on whether or not it's going to happen, let's call it 50-50, but if they get the nod and they immediately start outperforming Haas, well, then what's the last, by then maybe 10 years been for?
Yeah, bring the screens out if that occurs. But nevertheless, I feel like it's fair, and it's a fair and unfair criticism, because yes, Haas should be doing a lot better. But when you have Alpine, which is, you know, let's be honest, it's a factory squad. It's Renault.
Yes,
it's Renault, and the just dysfunction they have had off the track. You know, they've been quite lucky to have 2 pretty good. I'm not putting them in the Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz area, but for Esteban, and to have Pierre and Esteban Ocon is, you know, stable set of hands. But you know, behind the scenes, it's a mess.
Yes,
and I would argue that's far worse, because they have more money to play with. More, you would think that's a more stable team to want to go to. You think it'd be more of an aspirational team to go to, a destination club, if you will. Where, but literally the day that Fernando Alonso trolled Alpine and said, stuff younger and Aston Martin, and then Oscar Piastri. That was their investment.
Shunned them as well.
There was basically like getting a scam call and putting whole life savings on the scam call was Oscar Piastri, because they were like, no matter what happens, we'll lose Fernando, but we've got Oscar. Oscar's like, nah, I'm going to McLaren. So for them, they're kind of chasing their tail a little bit. Pierre was sort of the next best on the list. Not a bad guess, but he's no Oscar, I'll be perfectly honest. But yeah, ever since then, I feel like they're far more worse, because, again, I honestly believed Ricardo made the right call when he went. And I think I guess the intention was right. Had everything sort of occurred naturally. I think if Cyril was still there, Daniel was still there.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that the Cyril effect, though? Is Alpine just not... Like, who knew that Cyril Abiteboul was the guy who was dragging, kind of like, again, maybe a little bit of like cult of personality, like forcing that team into the way of like, no, this is Formula One, you've got to win.
Yeah.
Now they're Alpine, you know,
it's gotten
you
worse.
can never survive in Formula One as weird, like small bat supercar maker.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put Ferrari in that category. But like that, it's what's kind of the point now, right? They don't know whether to look up or down because they're not climbing, but they're also the teams behind them aren't very good. So they just sit there.
Yeah, Haas is the new Edge Minardi. They kind of play a role. Someone's got to be the wooden spoon.
This is what I meant earlier, right? Like
Yes.
in other seasons, in a decade ago, Haas would be long gone. Like Andretti would have bought that team and gone, thanks for all the bits. I'll turn this into the Formula One. I'll buy that entry. And now they're just kind of bumbling along because obviously the sport makes enough money and it's worth enough to Gene Haas to be there, even if you're only scraping together a handful of points every season. Like Formula One's done a very good job of making sure that all of these crap teams can just stay there.
And I think that is a really good. I was thinking about this when you raised it at the start of the podcast, sort of reinforced why I wanted to bring this one up, which is that there isn't. You're absolutely right. There isn't. I mean, there's no way that people in this sport are signing up to 24 races a year, whatever, and phoning it in. It's not quite that severe. And everyone at Haas is trying their best, doing a good job. Gunther Steiner's run a lot of teams before, whatever. Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hülkenberg, perfectly capable drivers. But there is that lack of, like, if we don't do well this year, this could be it. Like,
we're out.
Formula One used to thrive on that idea that even some of the biggest teams could fold or be bought out or could suddenly collapse because there's always a precariousness about it. I mean, Ferrari and McLaren, well, no, really Ferrari is the only through line through the entire sport. McLaren very long running. And that's kind of it. Like the rest of them have all been bought out. Yeah, exactly. They've all got close. So I think there's something kind of interesting in that as well. And maybe it does lack a little bit of that. Like if we go fast forward 5 years and it's just consistently Haas in the bottom two and Williams is rotated up and down and AlphaTauri, whatever, that's going to be a weird position for the sport to be in because suddenly it'll have lost that element of like everyone here. It's the drive to survive thing, right? Like they're driving to survive. This is their entire lives. It's going to be harder to mount that argument.
Which I'm surprised they're not letting in more crap teams because let's be honest, they're going to flatter your Haases of the world because Haas is currently, they're a shit team by the current definition, but compared to some shit teams that we've seen even in our time, they absolutely do not compare to those. Haas scored points on that.
Completely.
Did they score points
They
on that?
did score.
They were out of the
and they
box
would always
pretty good.
qualify, like, they're always within the 107% of the qualifying time, right? Like, they're not, like, not that rule even really applies anymore, but they are not so also ran that people would be like, oh God, there they are getting lapped for the third time this race. You know, they've retired one of the cars just because it's slow. You know, they're not really that.
The whole notion of there's a shit team or a shit car or shit driver in Formula One has not existed in a very long time. Forget these good old days, rose-tinted glasses. There have been some howlers that have been in F1 and frankly don't deserve it. If it was the case now, everyone would be up in arms, flapping their arms on threads in a fit of rage. So why does 40 get to survive?
It also shows maybe some of those young drivers also don't want to go to some of these crap teams. Like Liam Lawson's like,
because why would
I'm going to
you?
hold out.
Yeah.
But one of the top 5 teams, actually.
I'll throw out something out there that might be a hot take, and everyone may disagree or everyone may agree. But let's say Haas stick around for another 5 years.
Yes.
Gunter's got to go.
I think there'll have to be changes. Like if it's in 5 years and there's no improvement, someone will have to make that call. And don't get me wrong, I like
But I can't see it happening. That's what I mean. Like they don't have that ability to be like, we're here to win, and if you're not going to be part of that, then see you later. They're just not willing to do that.
It's a very hard take to stick with because it's like being Zach Brown and telling Daniel Ricciardo your services are no longer required. You're the bad guy in F1 if you're pulling Gunther out of Haas because they're kind of inextricably linked at the moment.
He's also the only thing that's selling that team. Let's be honest.
Yeah, which is bizarre that your team, someone in administration should not be the celebrity of the squad, which is remarkable. But nevertheless, they operationally, they'll get into a stage where they're just just static. They become like Williams, where they just are so ingrained with their ways because it's all we just do it because we've done it for 20 years.
I mean, Haas comes into the sport and they're like, we'll buy every part off the shelf from Ferrari that we can and work out the rest. And they did okay. But what have they done differently in the last, 6 years? 5 years?
Yeah,
not a lot.
Well,
What was the next
Mazepin.
phase of that? Because
try to get huge amounts of money from Russia and then
but that
just
was about
exploded in their faces
survival.
as
That
well.
wasn't even about we need
you're
that
right, you're right,
to
you're
get
right.
podiums. It was we need that to not be kicked off the grid and go completely into insolvency. But what's the next phase? And then when you think about a next phase, the whole culture of that team needs to be completely flipped. And Gunter is just so ingrained in that culture that if you're going to change it, he can't stay. That's
they should be looking at what Williams did and like, oh wow,
Yeah.
Williams actually built a bit of a rocket of a car this year, and it's starting to turn. Like it's starting to actually work a little bit. Like you're better off being the best of the rest, right? And they definitely are. And I'm just looking at the teams now. I'm like, well, AlphaTauri is always going to be what it is, the B team. Alfa Romeo is going to become Audi, and that works too. So yeah, what is Haas? I think you Michael's what is spot on, and you're spot on there, Rod, too. It's like, yeah, what the fuck is this? Like, why are you here? Why are you guys here? Is it because they have an American owner? Is that partly it as well, though? That like they are Team America? Really?
I
I mean,
mean,
it could be.
Do you have Andretti filling that void?
I'd love Andretti to get in. I can't see them getting in the current political environment. And then, I mean, the obvious solution is Haas, go away, Andretti take over. But, I mean, how do we make that happen? Guys,
Well,
how do we make that happen?
Gunter,
How do we make that happen?
Gene Haas has turned down those offers, so that's
Which is
not going to
remarkable.
happen. So which is the thing, which is what's really interesting. It does sort of speak to that idea that teams are just happy to be here at this point. And again, I don't want to cast those aspersions on a team where everyone is trying to be competitive, but it's hard to escape that in a grid full of teams that all feel like they've got a really obvious purpose. Haas doesn't feel like it's as obvious.
Yeah, and it's great for all the people who make up those teams. None of us like the stories when a team shuts down, all those people lose their jobs and all of that kind of stuff. That's really horrible. And this is way better for everybody in the sport, and the costs have started to come down. And maybe a whole bunch of new people are making a whole bunch of money, especially all the American races, regardless of fan experience or whatever, right? Regardless of anybody who actually watches the sport, you know, we're spending way more money. I don't know if you've seen ticket prices for Silverstone next year; they're like £800 or something.
Oh my
like,
God,
just
kidding?
insane things.
Whoa.
So yeah, like there's absolute consolidation happening. I think that's probably just what Haas are, right? Maybe they are just one of the also rans, and yeah, you can't see any driver wanting to move there, but they're exactly what we expect them to be. Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen could race there for as long as Haas exist. You know, they could still be there in 5 years. Like, why not? Like, why would you replace them? Because you don't need anybody to be punchier. You just need two guys who will continually turn up, get the shit kicked out of them, and then race again next week.
Well, on that tremendously cheery note, we're coming to the
I was
end
talking
of
about F1 fans, not them either. We just turn over, we get the shit kicked out of us, and then we come back.
On that tremendously cheery note, well, that is the end of the podcast for this year. I assume this is also your last episode for the year.
Sure.
I mean, you could do more if you like. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. It's our
Sneak a
last
couple
episode
in the
of
next
Fox
12 days.
Yeah. It's always time. There's always time for more podcasting. But pleasure as always, guys. Good to give out our awards. I feel like we hit a new high this year. I was pretty pleased with them.
give
Started
ourselves an
strong
award.
and continued to be strong.
It's like a group assignment. I just went in hard and went in early. Just cruised along. I'm now reading a story. How good.
No, we didn't do any predictions.
Do you want to do a quick
want to do a
prediction?
quick, just a one line, no big discussion, just a bang,
Okay.
bang, bang.
Well, for Box of Neutrals' purpose, I've popped open the bottle of Brighton,
Oh,
of which I was proven right that Logan Sargent was going to stay at Williams after all. My
Wow.
my wuss bet came to fruition. So therefore, we'll put in a couple of more. I will now return. I'm currently now in Frankston. I will now return the bottle to head back to shore to Brighton.
yes.
And let's have
Brighton.
some predictions for 2024. So I'll go ahead and head first.
Yes.
Yeah, go on. As last year's winner.
I will completely contradict what we said about some 20 minutes ago, and I will say Mercedes will be the second best team on the grid.
Oh, but not the best team.
Not the best. No, that's right. Easy.
All right, so we're limiting the
Second
okay.
best,
All
yes.
right, Zach, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. What am I going to go for? I think that, Daniel Ricciardo is going to get fired through this season.
That's
Yeah, through this next
Oh,
season. They're going to dip him.
Wow.
It's a shame that you've said
Yeah.
no discussion, and also that we've got literally 2 minutes left on this Zoom call.
That's it.
But I like
Literally,
it.
they were-
I
I
like-
need 5 hours on just that.
I like
Yeah.
the model. I like the model of this. All right, Rodney. follow
I
that up.
too, my prediction from this year came true that Fernando Alonso would more than double Stroll's points. That came true. But my,
Yes,
my
well
prediction
done.
for next year, I still think that Verstappen will win the championship next year, but I think Perez will be fourth or lower in the drivers' championship.
He
Okay.
will not be at the team
Strong.
if he is fourth or
Yeah.
lower.
Yeah.
Well, that might prove my point. He might be a lot lower.
May well have left the team halfway through the season in that case. All right, I'm going to say that McLaren will win multiple races next year, but
Ooh.
Ferrari
Can
will
I swear very
still
loudly?
be second
Fucking-
best team.
Wow.
Well, or in the mix. They'll be in the mix roughly equal.
I like it.
Yeah,
I
I
like
think
it.
that's a big enough prediction, isn't it? Without predicting that Max won't win the title. So
I think we've all done well.
I think we've all done well. All right, well done, boys. We'll reconvene in approximately 12 months.
See you then. So that'll do it for the end of year show. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a great season. Thank you to Rob and Michael from Box of Neutrals for having us on their annual end of year show. Thanks so much to Zach for doing the podcast with me all year. Thanks to you for listening to this episode and all year and all the years that you've been listening. And thanks to everybody who's checked out everything we've been doing. We'll be back next year. I hope you have a great holiday season and new year. I know testing is, I don't even know, not even 100 days, like 60, 70 days away. So won't be long before we all get some more action again soon. We'll be back to talk about it when it kicks off. But until then, take care of yourself. I've been Rod. Talk to you later.